Namaste, namaskaram, vanakkam, namo namaha, jai Ganesha. Please visit our website at classicalyoga.org, and there is a donate button if you'd like to help us out. And please stand up for the Hindu, yoga, religious, spiritual, scientific, philosophical lifestyle. Today's podcast: how do we get something out of nothing? Let's go out of our mind. In religious debates, discussions, and especially with monotheists and monotheists versus atheists, the monotheistic position is often, how do you get something from nothing? Of course, meaning that there must be a creator that created all things. But then the logical question is, who created the creator, etc., etc. And the final answer there is often, well, the creator is self-created. It has always existed. So if there is always existence, then nothing doesn't exist. And if nothing doesn't exist, then everything must be something. Therefore, if everything is something, there can be nothing. So the answer to the question, how does something come from nothing? Well, nothing doesn't exist. Of course, the opposite of nothing doesn't exist is that nothing exists. So if nothing exists, game over. Either way, one has to end up with no thing, silence. But even no thing must still be something, for that no thing comes out again in the manifold things. This is why Hindus, to use a word, a thing, a Sanskrit word, label this Atmana, which literally means not the mind, mana, Atmana. Therefore, to get beyond the things into, quote unquote, an experience of nothing or no thing, one must literally go out of their mind. Of course, we humans have managed to create innumerable ways to, in an unhealthy, negative way, go out of our minds. And we have to give credence to the mental disturbances that happen, because the mind is a chemical factory, and it doesn't take much to have these chemicals go awry, if you will. But assuming that we have a fairly rational mind, so logically using a thing, the mind, to realize no thing doesn't work. So obviously we have to go out of, beyond, transcend the mind. But is that doable? Well, as infants, even in the womb itself, we were an existence, we were a being, but we had no awareness of that. The mind was not developed to the point of any self-awareness at all. But something was going on. Something was existing. Pure existence. That's why Yogi Gorakanath, among others, said, Yato vacho niyavartante aprapyas manasa saha. That experience is beyond speech. Yato vacho. It's even beyond the very mind that seeks to comprehend it. Now again, we figured out all kinds of unethical ways to go out of our mind. That's why alcohol is such a popular drink around the world. But are there ways to, in a sense, ethically go out of our mind? Well, actually, we do it every night in deep sleep. Who knows what's going on there? Something is going on. That's why there's no nothing. That's how you can get apparently something out of nothing, because there is no thing. Nothingness doesn't exist. In other words, there's always something going on, however subtle. And the proof of that is that we do wake up into the material world again. And every moment something is manifesting from that no thing, and something is going back to that no thing experience. The all-encompassing zero that actually makes life compute. This is a binary system. And it's worthy to note that it wasn't the Middle Eastern mindset which produced monotheism and the numerals, the Roman numerals, 1. It was the mystic mind of the East, the mystic mind of Hindus, if you will, who came up with the concept of zero, the mystical, magical zero. From zero, everything came. Out of the no-thingness came the Big Bang of creation, within which is the no-thingness. And when the things are all over, there's still the no-thingness. So at this point, the mind is going, WTF? What the foolishness is this? How can there be something beyond me? But science concurs. There's more nothingness in the universe than somethingness. So again, remember, this nothing is not nothing. It's something, but so subtle. Too subtle for the limited mind to grasp. Therefore, transcending or going out of the mind. Enter the human impulse for religion. This innate desire to seek something beyond the material realm. In fact, the very meaning of soul or spirit is that which is incorporeal, which means not the corp, not the body. Now, in the Greek, of course, the soul comes from psyche, which is still connected to the mind. It's not the body, but there's still a mind connection there. That's why, as Hindus, we have a more appropriate term, the Atmana, because it's literally not the body, but it's not the mind either, nor the emotion. It's something else. A something that, in the experience of it, cannot really be known. Otherwise, it would be still something. That's why the Hindu proverb, if we think we know at that level, we don't know. Perhaps in that state, we can only reflect on that after the fact. Yogaswami, again, a great mystic from Sri Lanka, when asked about that state beyond the mind, he couldn't explain it, but he gave a little parable, if you will, that one day in that state, a bird came and sat on my head. In other words, this mystic was so far out of his body, mind, and emotions that he had no clue that a bird was sitting on his head. But yet, as humans, we try to put names and labels on that transcendental experience in one way for clarity, but this is what often gets us in trouble. For words can truly not describe the indescribable, and we all know this. Describe love. Describe those intense inner feelings. All one can do at that point is just surrender into the pure experience, the pure existence. Sat, if you will, Sad or Sat, this pure existence. That refreshing experience of being nothing with not even a realization of being nothing. Hence nature's wisdom of sleep, the mystery of sleep, to function during the day. So this dance of nothingness and everythingness is going on all the time, in subtle degrees to more manifest degrees. The black hole, which is dependent upon the spiral of creation, evolution, life itself. And to be the true spiral is dependent upon the black hole, the no-thingness. And we all have one. Look into the eyes of your fellow human beings and animals. We all have a black hole. It's right there at the center of the eye. And it's there that we unify. And rationalizing this no-thingness and experiencing the everythingness then goes a long way to conquering the mind's fascination with the mind, with creating a one way, a one deity. Remember, as soon as you have one, you have two, one and not one. The inevitable duality of life. The wisdom of the no-thingness and the everythingness. So, how does something come out of nothing? Because nothing doesn't exist. Let the mind wrestle with that. Soul food for the mind, if you will. As the Atmana transcends the body, mind, and emotions, but is temporarily residing within a specific body, mind with its emotions. So for those of a monotheistic mindset, proclaiming a one that creates everything, when actually it is the zero or the no-thingness that creates the everything, the one-manyness that is creation itself. Remember that when the monotheists use the Anglo-Saxon word God, they're referring to a one male creator being, noun. They are not generally referring to a being verb in the sense of an all-present something. For if it truly was all-present, then there would be no need to present it. For it would just be, and it would be fairly evident to all. So this one creator being cannot be omnipresent, for again, it would not demand any kind of explanation at all. It would just be self-evident. There would be no desire to promote a one exclusive religious ideology, theology, philosophy. Therefore, it's illogical to claim this one God to be absolute. And clearly, upon inspection, it is not that at all. It is a mistaken notion created by the mind itself of a one male creator being. A something which created everything. And we know that something cannot be nothing, because nothing does not exist. And if nothing exists, there can be no something. But we can't leave it there. For we have this desire to realize this ultimate experience, if you will, an ultimate experience that can actually never be known. So we have to trick the mind to transcend it. That's why in the Yoga Sutras of the Saiva Hindu Guru Patanjali, he begins actually by saying, now after you have a deep study, understanding of the Hindu Dharma, now you seek to calm the mind. For obviously when the mind is not calm, it's impossible to see outside of it. It's like when we're in a fit of rage, it's impossible to see beyond it for the moment. We have to get beyond that state of rage and anger, powerful, deep emotions. So we seek to calm the mind in order to trick it, in order to, in a sense, jump in. And this is precisely where the various religious traditions of the world arose. For better or for worse, to one degree or another, sometimes consciously or unconsciously, the desire to calm the mind, which starts with treating the mind well. This is where ethics enter into the picture, for it is in living an unethical lifestyle that the mind automatically gets disturbed. Trying to be honest and ethical and naturally calms the mind. That's why all religions of the world and life in general have ethical codes of conduct to calm the mind so that we can go further, deeper. Then one exercises full-on devotion to life itself, to physical, mental, emotional, philosophical pursuits, deep concentration. And if one keeps up this process, it will develop a ripening of the mind where the mind naturally calms down, and then one can, in a sense, step off, step in. Kind of like a hamster, and we're the hamster just going round and round on the same wheel. This is the wheel of samsara, or reincarnation, that Hindus speak of. Until eventually we realize we just keep going around in a circle, and it's fun while it's in play. But we realize that the way out of this circle of life is to jump off. Let go. Again, Yoga Swami used to say, let go of the rope. But first we have to hold on to the rope before we can let go of it. In other words, we have to live a certain kind of a lifestyle, honest, ethical, devoted, meditative lifestyle, in order to transcend or naturally let go the rope. The mind naturally and beautifully, in a sense, surrenders. This is the meaning of Sharanam. It just kind of surrenders into the pure experience of which we cannot speak, just like the magic of sleep. Nobody knows that exact nanosecond when we drop off from being conscious to unconscious in deep sleep, or in reverse, from the deep state of sleep into the nanosecond of awakening. That's the event horizon. Before creation drops into the black hole and then out again. From zero, everything came. 0 to 1, the binary system. So we would do well to respect the binary system of life and then experience those magical, ethical moments when we go out of our mind. And it seems like that refreshing experience, true relaxation, true peace, true shanti, when we come out of it, there is a sense of contentment, of bliss, ananda, satchidananda, pure existence, pure consciousness, pure energy that manifests as light and heat and warmth and love and bliss. Those of you that have pets, especially cats, watch them when they come out of a deep sleep. There's, in a sense, a smile on their face as they yawn, a blissful experience. So why not ethically care for the mind to ethically go out of our mind. But this mind will not give up without a fight. And this is the natural process of creation itself. From infants, our minds slowly developed, creating a sense of self, identity, a personality, an ego. And this is what helps us all to get through this life. So it's a very necessary process. However, when this self-awareness becomes self-consciousness, when it becomes a stumbling block, when it becomes a hard ego, we realize something is wrong. And again, that's why many turn to drugs, alcohol, etc., to temporarily calm this mind, and the natural process of sleep that we all need to calm this mind. And so we go on, year after year, decade after decade, becoming an individual, very natural and necessary process of life. Until we ultimately realize the limitations of this ego, this personality, then it becomes a problem. And instead of an ego, it becomes an e-stay. In other words, we realize we become a little bit too full of ourself. In its extremes, this is, of course, narcissism. Even worse, Machiavellianism, psychopathy, when we become so hard and rigid in our ego. So instead of the mind becoming our best friend, helping us to get through life, it now starts to become our worst enemy. So sometimes through trial and error, we come to the conclusion that unhealthy escapes are just that. And so we seek healthy escapes from the everyday routine, from ourself, if you will. We go on various types of vacations. Some resorts are actually called escapes. Escaping the pressures of everyday life. Escaping this self-created self that becomes often a stumbling block as we become an egotist, an egomaniac. This is where many also turn to self-help and religion. Remembering that the essential meaning of the word religion, religio, means to link or bind together. Initially, just an understanding that one is trying to get their act together, if you will. Understand who they are. Understand the body, mind, emotions, and beyond. So there is this inherent understanding, if you will, that the mind is just not enough. There's something else. This is the inner thirst for knowledge, for experience, as we ponder, as we wonder. We look up at the stars. We wonder about life itself. We start to ask some serious questions. Who am I? Where did I come from? Where am I going? What is the purpose of life? What is the purpose of my life? This is the introspection that everyone does to one degree or another. This is really the original impetus behind the religious mindset of simply trying to get one's act together, to link, to bind together, rather than being a missing link, if you will. Now, at this point in our evolution, there are many established religious traditions, religious paths up the mountain, if you will, that really started out with 1, 2, 3 people getting together, just pondering life itself, trying to figure out what this life is all about. So the impetus is good, but obviously the results can often be less than good, if you will, because all of these religious traditions of the world are created by humans, and as humans we continue to make good decisions, bad decisions, and life goes on. But it's important to remember that This religio process is really inherent in all human beings, and whether one decides to follow a specific path, a specific tradition, religion, if you will, is one thing. And there may be innumerable ones to come, who knows? But the process is really important and inevitable as we go through this expansion and contraction process of from an infant expanding out into a personality, an ego, a sense of self, and then realizing its limitations, and then in a sense contracting and going back within. As we start to introspect, contemplate, that's a beautiful word. It's actually from the Latin con templum, to go within, con, the inner temple. So using English, obviously the common language now around the world, this religious process has always been there. It's not going to go away. And obviously those that are keenly interested in a religious life, and even those who are not, look at the endless debates between theists and atheists, for example. Obviously the atheists are very keenly interested in religion. The Christopher Hitchens and Sam Harrises and Dawkins of the world, etc., obviously very interested. They study the various religions of the world. So it's a process that's just concurrent with being a human. If we look at ourselves, for example, we are animal, human, and perhaps divine, perhaps something else beyond that. This is what in English people refer to as the soul or the spirit. And again, coming full circle, this is what Hindus refer to as the Atmana, that inner experience that transcends the body, the mind, and the emotions. Look how many people are interested in yoga today, even though this has been totally distorted, which is so sad on one hand, but so indicative of the very mind itself that, in a way, understands that it needs to go beyond itself, but can't really get over itself. Because in this yoga of today, they've actually created more of a mental stumbling block, if you will. Hence we have the so-called certified yoga teachers and all the yoga studios and the yoga products and Lululemon and yoga mats. So in the very process of trying to transcend the mind, they've actually done the opposite and created more of an external nature to yoga, when actually the very meaning of the Sanskrit Tamil Hindu word yoga or yogam, it actually has nothing to do with the body at all. It's seeking to transcend the body. And yet that's what it's become. Ask most people today what yoga is, and they'll give you some physical postures. And again, that's antithetical to the very meaning of the Sanskrit Tamil Hindu word yoga, which means yuj atman brahman cha. Like religio, yuj means to yoke, Y-O-K-E, to one's inner essence. Remember, the Hindus call this the Atmana. To yoke to the Atmana, and then the source of the Atmana, which Hindus call Brahman, which is not God. Remember, God is that Anglo-Saxon term referring to a one male creator being. Noun. Brahman is a neuter term and refers to the greater sources of pure existence, pure consciousness, pure energy, heat, light, and a feeling of bliss, if you will. So yuj atman brahman cha means to yoke or join to one's individual essence, the Atmana of Satchidananda, love, light, and energy, if you will, and then to be absorbed in a greater source of that, Brahman. Now, in order to achieve this Atmadarshana, or spiritual union, if you will, this is where the lifestyle of Hinduism comes into play. And there's a great wisdom here because as Hindus, many can appreciate life in general, but also understand that when we're speaking about something specific, we have to recognize that's exactly what we're doing. So, again, using English in general, many are trying to live an ethical, honest life, a devoted life to their self, to their family, their friends, their jobs, their professions, their religion, perhaps. Many understand that in order to be successful, they need to concentrate. And if they keep this process up, no matter what they're doing, they'll achieve relative degrees of success. There's basically ethics and devotion and meditation, which is concentration, to an experience, what one may call enlightenment, right, or fulfillment, an ongoing fulfillment. This is understanding life in general. However, respecting the specifics, one can find this in the various religions of the world. They all have their ethical codes of conduct to be respected. 10 Commandments, for example, of the Jews, and later absconded, if you will, by the Christians. Remember, Christians really took everything from the Jews. But all religions have their ethical codes of conduct. They all have their devotions. They all have their individual meditations, concentrations on their scriptures, on their spirit beings, their rituals. And if they keep that process up, they have an ongoing inner enlightenment experience, if you will. It's not a strange word. In light we're meant to be. In other words, as the light bulb goes off in our head, for example, or uncovers, we start to realize inner experiences, epiphanies, if you will. So we find this basic process in life. We could call that the education process, EDME, E-D-M-E, EDME, ethics, devotion, meditation to enlightenment. Now, but we have to respect the specifics. This is where many of us go so wrong. We go from one extreme to the other. The fundamentalist, remember, assumes that their tradition is the one and only way and everything else is wrong or evil. But the other extreme is the universalist who doesn't understand the specifics of life. There's actually kind of an inner battle of left and right brain. So the hard left brain, the negative masculine brain, if you will, can't see the forest for the trees. They're hugging their tree and don't really see the other trees of the forest. They can't see the forest for the trees. And the other extreme is kind of the New Age universalist. This is where today's yoga fits in. They can't see the trees for the forest. In other words, they don't respect the individual trees that make up the forest. But there is a balance in the middle where we don't fall flat on either extreme, the fundamentalist or the universalist. This is what we could refer to as the NAT principle, the N-A-T. One's religion is not no way, that's the universalist, all ways, no ways, means the same thing. Nor the other extreme of the way people, the fundamentalists, but a middle ground of a way. So if one decides to follow one of the established religious traditions of the world, they should recognize in maturity that they're following a way. It's not the way, and it's not no way, or it's not a universal way. It's not for everybody. It's for anybody who chooses to join it, but it's not for everybody. So this is a point where we're not quite at yet in humanity. Many people are, if they're interested at all, going from one extreme to the other, till we find a balance in the middle, recognizing that our way in life, and relevantly our religion in life, is a way. It's not the way. It's not no way. It's the way for you, yes, but it's not the way. It's a way. So when we recognize this EDME process in specifics when it comes to the Hindu dharma, Hindu religion, Hinduism, this is the process of yoga. To yoke to our Atmana, our individual soul, we live a lifestyle of karma yoga, ethics, bhakti yoga, devotion, raja yoga, meditations, contemplations, to Gyan Yoga, or the state of enlightenment. So these are actually considered the classic 4 yogas that constitute Hindu Dharma. Remember, there are many synonyms for what's called Hinduism, which is actually the original word by implication from the origin, Indu, Indus, River Valley. We get Hindu, Hindu. Also known as Rita Dharma, Vedic Dharma, Yoga Dharma, Sanatana Dharma, Brahmanism, Hinduism, the Hindu religion, Sabeka Sarva Ekam. So these classic 4 yogas Karma Bhakti Raja Jnana or Jnana Yoga. Within those we find Hatha Yoga, the Hindu devotional postures, Mantra Yoga, Hindu chants, Japa Yoga, Hindu chants on beads, Nada Yoga, Hindu devotional music, Nata Yoga, Hindu devotional dance. And this all stimulates the inner awakening, which we call the Kundalini Yoga, the energies up the spine, if you will. So it is this one yoga, Hatha Yoga, that is misrepresented today as simply yoga. And it's very interesting. Just a cursory study shows that this one yoga, Hatha Yoga, was the only one that the rishis said, don't display it. For obvious reasons, quote unquote. Hatha Vidya bhaveri yavate guya nivedatu prakashavaranam. As Yogi Svatmarama said, this knowledge of Hatha Yoga is powerful when you keep it secret and loses its power when you display it. And that's exactly what's happened. That's why the mind took over. And in seeking to transcend the mind, this modern yoga has done the exact opposite. And that's why we have all this really insanity in many ways. We have hot yoga, power yoga, doggy yoga, laughter yoga, nude yoga, goat yoga, beer yoga, Kino's yoga, Adrian's yoga, ad nauseum. And it's nothing really to laugh at because there's been tremendous scandals within those that have really hurt a lot of people and turned people off from the whole process altogether. So, authentic yoga really is all about the Hindu religion. Now, in this great religion that's thousands and thousands of years old, we have many scriptures and many philosophies. And we have a very specific philosophy called the Yoga philosophy or the Yoga Darshana. And this has also been totally distorted because the author, the Saiva Hindu Guru Patanjali, actually said that the goal is to become nothing. Kaivalya. That's the liberating experience. Tad evarta matrini barsa sunyam iva samadhi purushartha sunyam kaivalyam. The wealth of the Atmana is understanding, in a sense, the quietness, the no-thingness that goes beyond the mind, the Atmana. And in the Hindu Yoga Dharma, we often associate the mind with the moon and Shiva. And the soul, El Soul, if you will, with Surya or the sun or Vishnu. Hence, Harihara Ekarupa Gunashila. We look at Vishnu and Shiva as complementary. The moon and the sun. And here we are on Bhumi Mata, planet Earth. But look at the moon. We look at the full moon, and it sure looks like it has light, but it doesn't, does it? It's merely reflecting the light of the sun. So too, this mind itself that we develop and become so infatuated with, a useful tool, yes, but a tool that can start to use us. Like the moon, this mind really has no light of its own. It's really reflecting the light of El Sol, if you will, of the Atmana. That is why Hindus say Atmadarshana Paramudharma. Along with all of your other important duties in life, your dharmas, as a Hindu, your most important one, the overriding one, is to realize the Atmana. See, experience, feel darshan, the Atmana, the inner essence of love, light, and energy, the Satchidananda, Jyoti Shakti Ananda Shanti. And beyond that, within that, and afterwards, if you will, is the Tat, the no-thingness, the absolute, zero. So we come full circle because life is a circle, isn't it? It's not flat. Zero to many is closer to reality, hence the Sanskrit Tamil Hindu neuter term Brahman for the Big Bang, you see. But monotheism can be rather crude indeed, rather monistic polymorphism, dharmanupati dharmi. Father's only half the equation and completely denies those of the female persuasion. And monotheism, linear thinking, of course, once came to the conclusion that the earth was flat. But the Hindus knew it was round and moving, Jagat. What do you think about that? We ponder. The sun is round, the moon is round, The seasons go round, the days go round. So too round is the Nabi and the Bindu. Wake up to your inner wisdom, Hindu. For if we continue to capitulate rather than educate, the Dharma will only continue to deteriorate. So let's get our heads on straight, my friends, and start at the beginning. And every day is a new beginning and not the end. So find and follow your path. Step on it. And make the arduous climb. Use your will power. And remember, will is winning, is losing laziness. W-I-L-L. And walk the walk. And then we can perhaps talk the talk or not. Just keep silent. Silence is golden. Hindus often refer to the heart chakra, the Anahata chakra, which means no hit, pure experience, as the Hiranyagarbha, the golden womb chamber of the absolute no-thingness, which becomes the everythingness, and back again. Zero to many is closer to reality, hence the Sanskrit, Tamil, Hindu neuter term Brahman for the Big Bang you see. Remember, trying to create a one way, a one God, a one book, a one religion is simply a power play of the mind. So let's make our mind our best friend instead of our worst enemy. The choice is up to us. Finally, in the religious spiritual realm, we looked at this swing, if you will, from the fundamentalist to the other extreme of the New Age universalist, trying to find a middle ground of a way. Again, just get the image of a teeter-totter in mind. And to neither fall flat on either side, one must figure out a way to work towards the middle so that neither end is touching the ground. In order to do this, note that one foot has to be on each side. So in other words, we've known perhaps what it is to be a fundamentalist, or on the other extreme, a universalist. You can often see this, watch on YouTube, where you'll see that New Agers convert to Christianity and vice versa. Christians will become New Agers or into today's so-called yoga. So this is for the people into religion and spirituality. And note that the balance is really keeping those two together. All right? The fundamentalist might be the one who is just so strictly following one religion and all others are evil, the fundamentalist are wrong. And then the New Ager often will define themselves as being spiritual but not religious. Both are absurd. Actually, spiritual but not religious is even more absurd because the word spirit, soul, spiritual, means incorporeal or no body. So literally no body can be spiritual. It's the religious principles and teachings that help lead one into the spirit. Again, whether one is coming up with something new or following an established religious tradition and honestly admitting that. So this is for people that are involved in the realm of religion and spirituality. But what about those who are totally against the whole thing, though? Are they really? Because they love to get into debates, so they're obviously very interested, like we spoke of before, in religion. So you listen to debates with Hitchens and Sam Harris, etc. But here's something that the theist and the atheist both have to contend with. In a sense, they're both putting the cart before the horse, either and admitting that there is a God or there isn't a God, neglecting to understand the soul in the middle, if you will, or again, Hindus call this the Atmana. So, a typical theist may ask an atheist where they're getting their sense of good from. What is their standard? Where is this coming from? And actually, the atheist really cannot answer that. Interesting debate between Christopher Hitchens and Doug Wilson, where Mr. Wilson asks Hitchens where he gets this sense of doing the right thing, where this comes from. And this is one of the few times that Hitchens actually gets owned on this one. He's not able to answer that. So he goes to the fact, well, there's no authoritative God that needs to be teaching me this, but he doesn't really know. And obviously the theist doesn't really know either, because where is all this coming from? It's coming from, here's the Hindu view, that we are all atmanas, or souls, and this soul is comprised of a sense of morality, of love and light and energy, the essential nature of all. In various degrees, of course, because as a young soul, this love, light, and energy can be distorted, can be perverted into a selfishness. Hence reincarnation, which comes in a little bit later. So then the question was put to the atheist that they have to accept that those who do evil, when they die, they in a sense get away with it because there is no punishment. So in a sense, the universe really doesn't care. So then why should the atheist care at all? Valid question. So the theist, of course, postulates the other extreme, which says, well, one does not really get away with it, they go to hell. Here's where the Hindu steps in. And with the understanding that, no, we are all these souls, or atmanas, and we will reap the effects of our actions in this life or the next life. Hence, samsara, or reincarnation, which answers so many questions. And the reality that we're all going through these myriad of experiences. This is what we call karma yoga, or understanding cause and effect. And doing just that, understanding that everything we do has an effect. And at some point we figure out that doing positive actions result in positive effects, and vice versa. So that while it may appear that one does get away with doing bad things, evil things, if you will, they don't, like the theist, end up in hell, or a permanent hell. No, they live another life where they suffer the consequences of that, which logically makes a lot of sense when you think about why some people are born with tremendous suffering. Could it be that they are reaping the effects of the evil they did in a past life? It answers a lot more questions than either the theist or the atheist can answer. So you may want to visit a previous podcast, Do Hindus Believe in God?, where we really examine this, and it deals with the notion of putting the cart before the horse. In other words, let's go with what we do know. We're humans. We have a body, a mind, and emotions. And do we not all inwardly have energy? Do we not have inner light? If we didn't, we wouldn't have dreams, visions, imagination, etc. And a good whack on the head will show the inner stars, or inner light for sure. But this is why Hindus wear the bindi, the third eye point, the mark of the Hindu, because it is enclosing the eyes there that many do perceive a soft moon glow inner light, a white light which may produce various colors, because remember, white contains all the colors. So inwardly, we humans, and even our animal friends, we share this inner energy, this inner light, this pure existence, the energy of light and heat or warmth, which means we are still alive. Because just look what happens to a corpse. It loses its energy and it gets stiff and dull and dark. But do we not also share the inner experience? Like the atheist has to admit that they do care about others. They have a sense of inner morality. So we all have this, that inner sense of love, joy, bliss, that even many of our animals exemplify as well. Sometimes even better than we humans exemplify. Those of you that have pets know that. They can be very forgiving, loyal, full of love and bliss, contentment. So this is what we do know. We have this inner essence of love and light and energy, totally provable. But again, this understanding of young and old souls helps to clarify why many do bad or evil things, because we can misuse our energy, can't we? We can misuse our light. We can blind people with light. And our love can be a very selfish, self-centered love. Obviously, through experiences and through lifetimes, perhaps, we develop a more wholesome, positive, healthy, if you will, sense of this love, light, and energy. So this we do know. We are that love, light, and energy with emotions, mind, and body. Why not go with that, and then whatever realizations we have on top of that is just icing on the cake. Just some food for thought, if you will, some soul food. This is something we all share in common. We all love to eat. But what are we dining on? Truly, variety is the spice of life. And again, the choices, they're up to us. So, have a wonderful life. And as Hindus would say, lifetimes. And again, to quote Yoga Swami, no hurry, no sorry, no worry. And as Hindus, we respect you as a non-Hindu, a non-religious person, whatever you are. We wish you well anyway. And we wish you peace, and we wish you a full life and a tranquil life in your choices. Sarvesham svastir bhavatu, sarvesham shantir bhavatu, sarvesham purnam bhavatu, sarvesham mangalam bhavatu. As we're all just going from untruth to truth, unreal to real, humbly admitting our ignorance as we move to an ever more enlightened state of being, and perhaps tapping into that inner joy and love and bliss once in a while. Asato ma sad gamaya, tamaso ma jyotir gamaya, mrityorma amritam gamaya. And seeking shanti, which is peace, but peace through justice. Shanti, shanti, shantihi.